Creative heroes of all the internet, welcome to a next video with Thangys. I'm so glad to see you here again. A little bit nervous, but since most of you last time enjoyed this show, today we're gonna put another show without music, maybe with some music, but this dope, crazy animation that you are seeing on the screen is a little trippy, I must admit that, but I recently had a question, quite interesting one on Discord, so I would like to open it up and let's just dive in together. This today actually will be about generating the combinations or the generation of NFTs. Yeah, I can't say that anymore. With animation and also in a certain quite special setup. So without further ado, let's open up the question on Discord. So this dear Mr. D something is asking basically in a very nice and warming way, basically what he wants, and you can read it through, or let's read it together. At my workplace, we are interested in acquiring RAPTOR Max version is possible Ultra version, but we have some questions that I would like to ask you. We have several computers that we use to render our projects and accelerate the rendering process. In this regard, what we do is to set everything up on one computer, specify the path where we save the image sequence, activate the placeholder in its output, save the Blender file, and then open the same file on all the other computers to start rendering. Each computer renders a different frame, accelerating our rendering time. This leads to one of my questions. Okay, so the first questions of Mr. D here is basically using one same Blender file of what Raptor produces and then rendering the whole project on different computers to sort of parallelize the generation process. The rendering process. I think this has to be a very clear differentiation of generating and rendering, okay? So let's just be clear on that side. And then in the Max version, do we have the possibility to use the animations? Can we generate NFTs with animations, each at least 4 seconds long, and generate them indefinitely? I'm a little confused with this indefinitely word, but basically I think he means that he just would like to run the generation or the rendering process or something with or maybe he's asking about the loop that I'm having here on the screen. That's kind of the indefinite animation. Okay, and I asked because we would like to create a certain number of stills, each generated randomly, and the same number of stills created but already animated for 4 seconds each. I hope we have explained myself well and appreciate your understanding. Okay, so I think that the second question needs a little bit more of the clarification on my side, but maybe by showing you what's gonna happen today within our video, we'll answer the questions and also possibly also to others of you, Mr. D's. Yeah, bad joke. Really bad joke. Okay, so I'm gonna stop this trippy animation. I'm sorry for that. I'm having this stress test set up again. We have a lot of attributes, and in each attribute a lot of traits. And if we do the analysis, it all gives us, I think over almost 10 million combinations. And yeah, today we're not gonna play with the rarity. We did that last time. So let's just briefly go directly to the question. Okay, so do we know how to do the animations? Yes, we do know how to do that in the Raptor. And I'm gonna, just for the purpose of this video, we're gonna demonstrate it with 10 combinations. Don't look at this estimated amounts. That's not what we are here for. Okay, so let's go to one of the cubes here. So basically, I'm just gonna extend this a little bit so it's easier for you to see. So we have the frame number 1, and basically the loop is created in a way that it rotates the cube, right? And then it ends on the frame number 7. So this is kind of the first frame, right? And also the last one. So when you make a loop with the Raptor, you need to make sure that the last frame is the last keyframe is basically the one that it starts from. And then you put that same keyframe number here in the animation length frames. So that's number 7, okay? And then, then it's basically all set up or all done. In terms of the generation process, you can of course set different seed to get different combinations, but let's hit the generate. Okay, so now what the Raptor did was picking up different traits from each of the attributes and then basically showed and hide the combinations, and also using that to extend the animations for each combination. So now let's go one by one in the frames to see how it works. So now we see the first combination, and then if we reach the certain, yes, here, the 6th frame. So basically, as we saw before, when there is a loop, the basic last frame of that combination is basically the last one, or the one before the last. I don't know how to say that in English. So that was the 6th frame, right? So if we now keep it to number 6 and play it, yeah, that would be the smooth animation loop. Let's go back to 60, and again, from the 7th frame, we already see a new combination, and then it starts from the 1st frame, and then again, the last frame of it is the one before basically the first or the last one. So I hope this was clear. I kind of wanted to make this clear for myself as well, to be honest, because I was a little confused, because sometimes you forget. It's been a long time since the Raptor is operating. Okay, and yeah, so I think what's actually important for Mr. D. So this is basically what we've been having since forever. And now let's proceed to the render settings, because here I think that's what the Mr. D is asking for. Okay, so you generated the combinations, and now we have this blend file saved on the computer. So this is the blend file. And then we got the corresponding metadata that got generated with it. Here you can see 10 of those JSON files with other also JSON files that we've discussed before. And here, yeah, so let's not dive into that. What I would do in your case, wanting to render the same thing on another computer, of course, you can open the same Blender file on that different computer. But what I would do, for just sort of the sake of make it easier, so in theory you should be able to open it on different computer and start the rendering. But what I would do actually in your case would be just copy those two. The metadata are very important. It's tied with the generated combinations in the Raptor. So let's make a new folder that is, let's say, the PC2, right? So I'm just gonna copy both of that into here. I know that this can be sort of tedious if you have your Blender file tied with some assets. That can be quite huge, I understand that, but just for the sake of this test, I'm gonna just do the copy. In theory, it should also work with having just one Blender file that is sort of maybe on a Dropbox, and then connected to the assets and connected to also other computers. That's what I meant. So, okay, so this is saved, right? This is the PC1. Now let's open the same on PC2, right? We can see that we still have the combinations, and what is important for you, Mr. D, is the rendering. And also to others. I'm sorry, I'm just talking to one person, but I guess there's more of you out there, hopefully. And there's a new feature that just got implemented very recently, and that's rendering into separate folders. I think that this was also suggested by one of the Raptor users, and I find that maybe useful, or he was saying that it was useful. So also shout out to you and who suggested this. And let's do the generation of the second half, because you want to split the rendering time. And so here you would render the second part of your collection, and yeah, without any crazy waiting, let's hit the custom render. Now the custom render is doing that stuff with the calculating, basically it just goes from the 6 to 10, or the 5th one actually, so the 6th one. And now I'm gonna open that desired folder that was, let's say, here in PC1, and you can see that there we have the frames starting from 25 to 60. So that was the first part of the generation process. Now we can save it, why not? And now let's head to the PC1. Now it's a little confusing, but this is basically the PC1, the original folder, and here you would specify 1 to 5, and then you would hit the custom render as well. So now we are rendering on that first computer. And now if we head back to that desired upload folder, we can see that we have the frame number 1 all the way to number 60. So the whole collection is here. Voila. Yeah, now I think I had to do the refresh. So yeah, so that's 60 frames all in one folder. Okay, and I think I didn't even have to close the other blend file, but that was just to make it clear. Okay, so now I'm gonna delete all our beautifully generated combinations, and now I'm gonna take this render into separate folders, and let's again custom render on our first computer. And now let's head back to that folder, and yeah, as the name suggested, it renders each of the combination or the frames of each of the combinations into one separate folder. So this can be nice if you somehow want to have it disorganized. And so now I'm just, for the sake of the completion, I'm gonna just head to the PC2. We have a lot of folders here, I'm sorry for that. And here we would also do the same and then hit the custom render. So just to sum this up, it's important that you have that metadata folder come with the Blender file, right? That's essential for this process. And voila, we got 10 combinations in each folder. Yeah, so hopefully this demonstrated that we know how to do animations, we know how to render, okay, not generating, but render. We know how to render separately based on using this start and ending combination and the custom render of it. And so those two we know. Hopefully that would somehow fulfill what is Mr. D asking here. But what I haven't told you is that you can also actually use the native render of the Blender. You don't need to use the custom render one, because that one is only, it is very, it is useful because here it's easy for you to set up, and also it does this separating of the folder, but it's mainly because of the material randomization. So if you use the material randomization, I can't say that. Why I have made this name, I should have chosen a different one. So material randomization, meaning that the materials can be used as a trade here on your mesh objects. That requires using the custom render. Without that, you can't have that feature sort of working. But if you're not using it, then you can easily just use the native render of the Blender. So you can just pick that frame, let's say the 19th one here, and just right limit it here in the Blender itself, and then you could just hit the render and render animation. So that would also just render your keyframes, because it all just got generated into the timeline. So that's just a quick note on that you don't need to explicitly or implicitly use the custom render, because if there is no material randomization, and nor you don't want to get it separate into those separate folders. So there was just a quick note on that. And let me see if there's anything else that I haven't mentioned. Probably yes. Probably yes, I am that type of person. But hey, thank you so much for being here. We, I think, had a good time, I would say, to some part. And so please take care. And I will hopefully see you in the next upcoming updates and videos. Bye bye.